What the heck is going on with Jeremy Swayman and the Boston Bruins? With the details on that, here's our insider Chris Johnston with news that just can't wait. CJ, Cam Neely took a shot at restricted free agents, saying there's 64 million reasons for Swayman to sign right now. Swayman's agent, Louis Gross, was not happy, saying he's extremely disappointed about what Neely had to say so publicly. How ugly is this going to get, CJ?
Well, I guess the hope would be that it's seen its ugliest point, because certainly Monday was not a positive day in the negotiations in this process that's have been going on for months, frankly, between Jeremy Swayman and the Bruins. And, you know, I think what's going to happen now is there's going to be a little bit of a timeout sort of period. Everyone will take a moment to take a breath and cool off. And obviously at some point they're going to have to re-engage. And I think when they do that, what'll be interesting to me is, you know, Louis Gross's statement was very carefully worded, I'd put it on Monday night, saying that the $64 million had not been offered before that press conference. And so I do think the Bruins have got there, even if they weren't there prior to Cam Neely making those comments publicly. And so what does that mean? Does that mean that's the top offer Boston's willing to give? Is there any more wiggle room that can be had? You know, I don't think that there's been any exploration on that at this point in time, but that will be what will be interesting, I think, when they do re-engage. And, you know, right now it just seems like a cooling off period is probably best for everyone, because negotiating a contract like this publicly probably isn't too productive.
I understand a cooling off period would be effective if we were in August, but we're in October now, CJ. The regular season's just about to open up. How much longer can these two sides stay apart before they finally got to come to terms? Because if the season starts without Swayman and net, that could hurt both sides pretty badly.
For sure. And, you know, I think it's notable the Bruins have already said that Joonas Korpisalo is going to start their first game. That even, you know, if a deal were to be done right now while we're recording this, there just wouldn't be enough practice time for Jeremy Swayman to get into a position where he'd be ready to start the regular season. So for all intents and purposes, we're already looking at Boston starting the year without him as an active player. So how long can it go on? It can go to December 1st. That's when a restricted free agent has to have a contract signed and registered by 5 p.m. that day to be eligible to play in that season. And, you know, at this point in time, it's not very productive to offer a prediction, but it could go that far. I mean, you have obviously two sides that are pretty, you know, entrenched in their positions. You know, there has been a pretty big gap here in the negotiations. You know, the Bruins are slowly inching up to get to that 64 million reasons to report to the team. But, you know, we'll have to see, you know, where that leaves Swayman, how the start of the season potentially could be a factor for him if it compels him maybe to take a little bit less than what he's been looking for to this point. But, you know, it just feels like this is a negotiation that could go on yet for some time. And especially once you get into the year, you know, basically the Bruins got to go on in terms of the team without Swayman and you know, try to get through that stretch of time before he is ultimately signed.
When things go this public, they can get pretty ugly pretty quickly. By the way, if Swayman were to sign for $64 million, that would be $8 million a season. That number would only make him the 6th highest paid goalie in the league. More on this and other hot topics around the league on the full version of Insider Trading with CJ, Darren, and Pierre.